let's call this infrastructure meeting to order, and I apologize for any dog barking throughout the meeting. I actually have not sent out the minutes, so we'll do that next month. Public Works update is the first item on the agenda.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I will fill in for Ed Harmon here. I just wanted to fill in on what I've been doing with Public Works Department the past 2.5 weeks. It's been a learning experience for me. I've been watching and learning and looking at routines and having lots of conversations with them to see what they do on a day-to-day, hour by hour, week to week, not yet month to month, because I haven't been in this position for a month yet. It's really good. We've got a really excited crew that is really proud to work for the borough, and it's something that I want to continue to emphasize, and I want to illustrate about how much goals we have as a crew and how much talent we have, and I really want to start tapping into that and start making that more evident to not only council but to the residents and taxpayers of the borough. One of the things I've been working on with them is to empower them. I want to empower the crew to think more creatively about the issues that they know about. They see things on a daily basis. I don't want things to just be, viewed and then accepted and then nothing done about it. I want documentation. I want a list of known issues, and I want them to really start taking the lead on coming up with remedies, and not only just things that they see on a day-to-day basis, but proactive things, scheduled routine maintenance, start getting into a more regimented schedule. So everybody kind of has a greater expectation of what the crew is going to be doing. One of the things that was first talked about with the crew was thinking about how we can link our goals with the EAC's goals. And one of the things that I first talked about with the crew was, and linking into this thinking creatively and empowering them, I want to explore the feasibility of switching over to all electric equipment. There's going to be some challenges to that, and I am not the expert in two-stroke engines and the efficiency of them, and that's why I will rely on the Public Works crew and the ground maintenance crew to really be the expert on that. I'm happy to announce that I've been working with the crew to develop more specifics. I don't have anything to share with you now, but it seems as though the tipping point has happened in the commercial landscaping business, and that there are viable electrical options, and we're excited about that. It's just going to mean a whole different thing and a whole different way of doing business, and I believe the crew is excited about that. So I just wanted to whet your appetite with that, and that we are going to be looking at really transforming how we do business in the Public Works Department. And it's not just how we do things internally, but the outward facing image of the Public Works Department. So that's going to be coming up soon. Again, I wanted to say that, we're coordinating with the EAC on those things, and we're both learning from each other on how we can best represent a more environmentally responsible response to everyday activities. The other thing I'm focusing on with the Public Works crew is developing a schedule for routine maintenance. One thing that I found is that the crew is really good at responding to issues. I kind of want to change that paradigm a bit. How ironic. I hear a leaf blower right now. Here we are, right? Couldn't have written that any better. Instead of being always on standby waiting for something to happen, I really want to change this paradigm to Public Works and being more proactive, and how we can better use and be more efficient, better use our time and be more efficient with more routine maintenance type things. And so I've been working with the foreman on developing a more specific daily schedule, weekly schedule, seasonal schedule. And I'm hoping that by doing that, we can identify some ways that we can increase the efficiencies of the crew to help us do some more strategic work, such as the work that Eric and Sean and I have talked about with project, and council was aware of, the project of collecting data for our sewer and stormwater data. We had a really good conversation with Pannoni about a week ago, talking about how we can go about collecting that data. And we're in the final talks with Pannoni to come up with that, that proposal. So we should be seeing that sometime soon. I want to free up more time of the Public Works crew to be a part of that, since my vision of Public Works is that we need to be focused on the core infrastructure of the borough. That's streets, stormwater, sewer, and any other public building, parks, essentially. One of the other things that we're trying out is an internal pilot study for a borough-wide street sweeping initiative. I don't know if you've seen the street sweeper on your street anytime this past week, which is, I think, something different. And we have a really good resource with the street sweeper. And I wanted to institute a borough-wide street sweeping process, not only from an image standpoint, from the Public Works being out on every street, but there are expected returns for or benefits for our MS4. If we can start collecting all of that material, we're starting to weigh it all, we're assigning it to which route it was on, and we'll be able to collect that data and then assign it, and it will help us as we migrate towards our stormwater management. So that's something that we're working on currently. As I said, it's a pilot study. It's not for public consumption yet, with the idea that if we are successful in our proof of concept, the idea is then that we want to publicize this schedule, and then that's where we will make the schedule known to all of the residents in the hopes that the residents accept it and they can try to move their vehicles on those days, on those known days that the street sweeper should be on their street. Because it's just, you know, I know we're not shooting for 100%, but I have gotten some feedback from some residents that they appreciate the street sweeping, and they just wish that they would have known which street that they were going to be on, so they could have moved their cars. We're getting there. Right now, it's the proof of concept portion of it to see if logistically we can do that, and what's the time frame that we'll be able to touch all of the roads. So that's the process that we're at now. Hoping that within the next month we'll have all of those details hammered out and transformed into a more public-facing document. Put it on the web page, announce it via email about what the street sweeping schedule is. The other thing, 415 Conway, I know we wanted to talk about the status of that, and I defer to Eric for that update. And I see that pop-up bike lane is also on the agenda, so I will save my update for that part of the agenda. That's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. And for anybody who's not aware, Matt West is now serving as our acting Director of Public Works in Ed Harmon's absence. So any Public Works questions should be directed to Matt West right now at the borough office. Sure, go ahead, Rob.
I just wanted to acknowledge the work Matt is doing to coordinate with the EAC, and thank you for that.
Yeah, I think we're going to be excited to take up that issue when it's fully baked.
Thanks. Yeah, and I'm really excited about the ideas of this whole electrical thing too. I know some of the details, but I don't want to spoil it because I think it's going to be really, for lack of a better word, really cool. And you know, I believe in it. I think it's a good image for the borough. I think the crew is really into it, and I'm excited.
I mean, I like the idea of the street sweeping. It might help some of our clogged storm drains that perpetually overflow. Seems like that's a big advantage to regular street sweeping.
Yeah, and good. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's that stormwater inlets is also on that routine maintenance list that I want to get into a more regimented schedule instead of being more reactionary, which is the current methodology. I want to move towards a more proactive approach where we can hit and clean out every single stormwater inlet on at least an annual basis. I don't know the universe yet. And that's the whole beauty of having a more organized schedule, that we can see what we need to do, what days we need to do it, and make sure things are getting done on a routine basis.
And then speaking of the schedule, we have had some complaints about the early morning work being done on the park, either the mowing or the leaf blower that you heard. So I think we'd like to make sure that the work starts at a reasonable hour in the morning
Yeah.
in the park area, where there's people and there's loud noise.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It's something that I've talked to the crew about. We've shifted, so the methodology was that since the park gets such heavy use during the day and the kids show up early at that playground, the methodology was, look, we need to get in there and clean that before the kids show up and try to keep it nice and clean. And so unfortunately that means it's an early start time. And they, all of the crew was just like, hey, we can do it later, but then it's going to be more disruptive to the people at the playground. But, they've been pretty adaptive to it. And it's, I do want to use that as an opportunity to re-envision how we do things. Just because that's the way we have been doing it isn't necessarily the right reason that we should continue doing it. I am not a grounds maintenance expert. That's really what Ed Harmon's specialty is in. And I wanted to thank Ed for all of his work on what he's done to improve the appearance of all of our grounds. Hats off to Ed and his crew. And they've really taken that as a part of their mission. And they're really obsessive about how the grounds look now. And I know I've only been here 5 years, but I think that our grounds are looking spectacularly better than what they looked like when we were first here. So hats off to Ed and his crew. That being said, I think like the timing of these things and how frequently we do these things, that can be revisited. And if it's, we're hoping that this switch to electric is going to help us with the decibels also, and that we might be able to do some of those things. In the meantime, we've bumped up our leaf blowing routine. It's not daily anymore, nor is it as early. I think it's we've scheduled it for 8:30. Now it was a happy medium between when the kids get there and it's not too early. So, again, we want to be responsive, not reactive, and proactive. It's all good. Thanks.
Sounds good, Matt. Michelle, you have any questions? Okay, so we mentioned the road repair. Eric, can you give us an update on the Conway road repair?
Currently have that up on my other screen. Everything is in place. The easement is in place. The agreement with the contractor was signed. And originally we thought they were going to start working last week, but I believe everything was in place for them to start this morning. I found out this morning that they were not there or not going to be there. So one of the activities for my afternoon is to press them on when work will begin. But everything is in place. We're just down to actually completing the construction at this point. So I am working on that as we speak.
Okay.
Eric, once the work starts, do we have an estimate of how long it's anticipated to take? I mean, weather, barring bad weather, just like.
Yeah, so it's basically there's the three aspects to it. There's the fix the pipe, replace the concrete work at the end of the driveway, and then the paving. It's probably overall not working every day. It's probably about a week to 2 week window, but it's probably like 2 days to fix the pipe, 2 days to do concrete, 2 days for the paving.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, and then is the Haverford Road the pipe problem, is that coming up right after this, or?
That is, the survey was completed for that, so the plans are going to be, yeah, right. That would be the next project we're looking to do, and that process is moving along.
Okay. All right, moving along to the information items we have on the agenda. I've got the Narberth Avenue Bridge. Do we have an update on that, Sean?
Yeah, I'm going to give a real brief update, and Matt can fill in more details. The two of us were trying to be in 3 places at the same time on Monday. So Matt drew the straw to go to the Narberth Avenue Bridge meeting. As I understand things, the project manager is waiting for final comments to come back from PennDOT to make revisions to those final plans. We expect that to be a quick process, although Jen doesn't want to say how quick it's going to be until she gets that info back. Matt, did they receive that in the last month? Those comments from PennDOT on the final design? Okay.
No.
Once those revisions are done, which she doesn't expect to be too extensive because of all the work that's gone into the project to date, we're going to schedule a public meeting, because part of the process of final design and engineering is to have a public meeting that explains what the project is, the construction impacts, the scheduling, and the logistics that are going to go into the bidding and building of the new bridge. And that is going to be scheduled sometime in the fall. And we're trying to co-coordinate that with the bridge artists, who were all put on notice to be ready to present their design concepts and their cost estimates to council in the next 60 to 90 days, so that then council can make a decision about the bridge art. We have 6 pieces of right-of-way that need to be acquired to construct the bridge. 4 of those deals are done. And the 2 other parcels, which are 198 Elmwood Avenue and lands owned by the National Railroad Corporation, or Amtrak, those 2 offer letters were sent out last week. And so we're in the process of negotiating those last 2 pieces of property. The largest of the easements will be with Amtrak. But since they've had a good long look at our construction plans and our right-of-way plans, there shouldn't be any surprises there. Only be a question of whether or not they accept the offer. So when we make the offer, is based upon an appraisal that the borough paid for each of the properties. And we make an offer according to that appraisal, and then we go from there.
So it sounds like there's going to be upcoming council action to choose an art, to make a decision on the art.
Yeah, but that won't happen until after they've presented their concepts and cost estimates to council.
Okay, so there's going to be a presentation, and then at some point after that, we will make our decision.
Yeah, and our bridge design team is going to also hold a presentation, not at a council meeting, but a separate public meeting in the evening to go over all those items I mentioned.
Okay, but that's you're taking care of that. That's not a council. Okay. All right. Any questions, Rob, Michelle? Rob, good.
Sean, just to clarify, when would these meetings be roughly? Like you're saying, within the next 6 weeks would be the is that right? The public meeting about logistics, or is that more in the coming year?
Yeah, it could be anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks from now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I could just jump in, we talked about that at yesterday's status meeting, and there's really, I wouldn't commit to any time frame. There's so many moving parts right now that it's difficult for us to, say whether or not it's going to be next week, next month, 6 months. One of the things that's keeping it up is the PUC. Since we have utilities on the bridge, it has to go and be approved by the Public Utilities Commission. And so that's the next sticking point. As Sean said, Amtrak right-of-way has been approved. We don't anticipate any problems with that one and the other one, but now it's the PUC. She's trying to follow up with the PUC. They've got backlog of projects because they were shut down during COVID. Also, she was notified by Comcast that there's communication cable on the bridge, and so they need to also coordinate with them to talk about where they relocate and not on the bridge or on the bridge. So there's all these moving parts that are happening, and the public meeting is on her radar. She's just uncomfortable with defining a date as of yet, waiting to hear back from the PUC.
I have concerns that the PUC will again be shut down for COVID in the near future. So I don't know if there's any pushing we can do or anybody we can talk to try to make sure our project gets through before that happens. I don't know. I know this is not the first time we've had to wait for the PUC. So
I just also would like to say, Fred and Matt and Sean, hearing from some neighbors, that they would like to, I guess that they're feeling, because they're not coming to our meetings, so they would like a little more information in the in the Friday email flash about the bridge, you know, and I think for several weeks, like the same info appeared. And yeah, I think there's some members of the public who are not coming to our meetings who would like to see, you know, oh, we're waiting on one more right of way, or they would like to see a little more of the detail so that they can be reassured that it really will happen.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like it's a whole bunch of hurry up and wait. And as we experienced, a couple of weeks ago when Amtrak actually went through their approval, we've been waiting for Amtrak for a long time. And all of a sudden, boom, it hits and it goes. We talked about that with our project manager yesterday. And, you know, she's like, oftentimes it's a lot of waiting. Then all of a sudden it's just going to take off and you're going to be building a bridge with, you know, really quickly. So I feel like that's where we're moving. A lot of these larger moving parts are happening. You know, Amtrak is done, PennDOT final reviews in the process, PUC is underway, trying to be underway. And so once all of those big reviews happen, it's going to be out to bid and building the bridge.
Build a bridge. All right. A positive note. Okay, so it sounds like that's continuing apace, and there is hopefully we'll have that public meeting sooner rather than later to indicate progress and to let everybody know where we stand. All right, any other questions on the bridge? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the pop-up bike lane project. So we've been having weekly meetings with DVRPC, and I showed a preliminary design at council last week. Everybody seemed in favor of it. So we have tentatively set a date to install the pop-up bike lane. It is, I believe, November 20th through the 30th. This would overlap with a Arbor Cycling Club project, the Cranksgiving project. So it would allow us to get sort of a lot of feedback from the cyclists during that period of time, and hopefully it'll let us miss the snow and the bad weather, so it'll allow us to get information during a useful time of year. I think the current, so DVRPC is right now working on some flyers and some survey data, among other things, that will let us gather information about it and let people know beforehand. So the cycling club is going to work with DVRPC to kind of get the word out and make sure everybody is aware of this project. I mean, I'm sure the borough will also be pushing it out on the flash and other means that we have to pass along the information. I think Matt's current estimate is that it would be about $1,500 for the material for it. Just a lot of that's for the paint, but also for the hay bales and the signs. DVRPC is, we're looking to see if we can cost share with DVRPC. They want to have some of these materials on hand for other projects. We're going to be an example project, and we're going to help them figure out how to do this with other communities, and they're hoping to have a library of resources that they can share with other communities. Matt, Sean, you want to jump in with anything more here?
No, that sounds good. I know that the other thing that I talked about during that meeting was that working with one of our public works crew members to talk these things out, not only the cost side of things, but really make sure we are selecting the right materials, especially with the paint. We had a couple of concerns about the type of paint we were using, and so we're just going to do a couple of quick test sprays out in the wild just to see which ones work best.
Okay, so Michelle, is that you typing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was.
Okay. All right, and
Apologize. I thought I was muted.
All right, so we are waiting right now to have our new traffic engineer take a look at the plan. Is that right, Sean?
Yep.
Okay. What's the timeline on that? We expected to hear back over the next
Yeah,
couple
this week.
days?
This week.
This week? Okay, good. And basically we're just having him sign off on it, right? Hopefully that's the idea. He looks at it and tells us this is safe. Go ahead.
Just want to make sure there aren't any red flags. That's all.
Okay, sounds good.
Public safety perspective.
All right, so we'll have another meeting on Monday, and I'm sure I'll talk more about this on council at the workshop meeting, and then hopefully it'll be in place by the. I guess we'll have the business meeting before it's in place. I'm trying to think, business meeting's early. Anybody else have questions or comments about it? All right, I'm excited. I'm hoping this goes well. Been talking about it a long time. It's great to have everybody working to put this together. And
Yeah, I'm excited
DVRPC
too. If any impediments or obstacles come up that you become aware of, Sean, let's just flag them as quickly as possible so that because with weather, that's the thing. If we go any further than the dates that they've picked out, we won't get it done, before next year. So if anything comes up that we can possibly work toward to, clear out of the way, let's make sure we're on top of it since it's getting colder by the day.
Yeah, and if the weather looks terrible, I mean, we can always postpone or something. I mean, if we'll know a few days in
If
advance.
we have to,
we don't need a huge amount of lead time to actually. I mean, we need to plan it, but actually implementing this. Discussed it with Matt, and he said, "Well, we could probably postpone if we need to, without losing anything. So if we have to, yeah, let's try to avoid that. But if it's unavoidable because of weather, that shouldn't be an issue." All right, the last item on our agenda is the stormwater ordinance, changing the minimum for exceptions. I think we're going to postpone that till next month. So we haven't really had a chance to discuss that internally. I'm still hoping to bring a recommendation to council later on. And then there's just a couple other items that we've been working on as a committee. So the parking study, the task force, Michelle, you want to update us on the status there?
Sure, I can do that. So just a quick refresher, we authorized this several months ago that we were going to move forward and sort of try out a task force approach with some community membership on it as kind of a bridge between the 2017 parking study that we've had for several years and council taking up the issue next year to actually work towards crafting solutions to implement the parking study. So we decided on a 10-member group. Half the group was to be sort of at-large community members. We had 17 applicants, which is a tremendous amount of interest. And I want to once again thank everybody who applied to be in the task force. And there were a lot of impressive applications with some very strong interest in the borough, and that was great to see. And hopefully everybody who we weren't able to select will stay in the mix and participate and continue to apply for opportunities to serve in the borough. But we did at our last meeting, or at our early October meeting, council selected the 5 community members. The rest of the committee will be composed of Matt from the office, mayor, and a delegate from that the mayor will choose for a public safety function. I'll sit on the committee as a council representative. There'll be a representative from the business association and one from the civic association. Maggie Dobbs from Montgomery County Planners will be serving as a sort of an administrative facilitator. She was the county planner who facilitated the work of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. She's very good at that. She also, in that capacity, has really compiled the comprehensive plan. In our case, she's going to be serving more as an administrative facilitator. That will be her role, to keep us very clearly targeted and focused on the work that we've already delineated, which I won't go into in a lot of detail. But the long and short of it is, we had a preliminary meeting. We met with Maggie. We set an initial schedule for how we're going to put together the agenda for the first meeting and sort of our workflow. Next week, we'll be reaching out to the task force members. Maggie will be scheduling the first meeting. We're looking hopefully for sometime mid-December. And we have a plan to complete the task force's work over 4 meetings. And so then there should be a final product to provide those recommendations to council probably around next April. If you want, I can update, at our infrastructure meetings just to let you know that the work is on target. But otherwise, I think that the next real touch will be just once the product is done, the work product is done.
Okay, so I'll be looking forward to that, discussing that next year. Thanks, Michelle. And then this evening, we have our Council President's Forum on 201 Sabine. So this is an opportunity for everybody in the community to learn more about why Council is looking into options on the 201 Sabine building complex, and an opportunity for Council to hear from in the community about concerns about the property. And we have been hearing a lot over email about the issue. People, letting us know what their hopes are and what their concerns are, and we'd like to hear more. So, if you'd like to participate in that, the information it's on the borough website, Sean. Okay, so the information for that is on the borough website, and it starts at 7 p.m. tonight. Okay, so that is all oh, Matt, go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to add in my report, I wanted to give an update on the EV charging stations.
Oh, yeah.
Some cross-pollination with Public Health and Safety Committee. The charging stations have been ordered. They were supposed to be shipped by the end of this week. So I'm still working on coordinating delivery and installation. There'll be 2 installation points, one in the back parking lot of the municipal building over by the library, and then one on the 100 block of Essex. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Essex on the west side of the street.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Thanks. A lot of different streets going through the brain at that moment. Yeah. So once I get clarification from when we are expected to receive the delivery, I'm then in the process of coordinating our electrician to hook it all up. So it's exciting. That should be hopefully within a month. They should be all hooked up and ready to go.
Yeah, and I've been meaning to contact Sean Walco about this, but I think we may have to pass some sort of rule for no parking except electric vehicles for these spots. I mean, hopefully people will be respectful, but we may have to codify that. I've seen other places have that on their books. So, all right, I'll get on that with John and see what his opinion is. Thanks for the reminder. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up here?
Yeah, I'll just an update on the PRP that was submitted to DEP. We received just within the last week comments back from DEP, and they were very minor in nature. It was a few requests for clarification on maintenance of facilities. Mostly, it was the maintenance of the privately owned facilities in the development. So it's just in the various developments, 100 Forest, 203 Haverford, and it's just adding another sentence to the report. And then one other piece of documentation just to justify that mechanical filter system. But that was all that they were seeking. So we're pulling that together, and we'll be sending it back off to them with that information.
Okay. I'm assuming, do we need any council action for that?
No, it would just provide them with the updated information they're seeking.
Okay. Great. I'm glad that there are only minor changes. All right. Let me open it up to public comment then. So Carol Marie, I see you first on the on my display. Do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I have a comment in relation to what Rob McGreevy just said about public not being able to come to the meetings. 1 o'clock on a weekday is really a bad time. And I know I've mentioned this multiple times, and you all say this is a better time for you. But if it's not good for the community to come and listen to the meetings, it should be changed to a time when the community can come to the meetings. My second comment is about the 201 Sabine. When after this meeting tonight, and then it goes out to the developer, how many meetings will there be to, I mean, there's been months and months and months of meetings about other projects like the bike lane and other projects. How quickly is this being shoved through? Are there going to be months of meetings and listening to what the public has to say and surveys for what the public wants to do?
Well, I can assure you there's going to be no shoving. We're a very, mannerly borough council. I don't think there's an official timeline after this meeting. I think council is going to have to discuss what we learn, and so there is no current timeline. We'd like to get it out. Yeah, I can't answer that, Carol Marie. There's no specific
Carol Marie,
timeline.
Just to clarify, because just to make it clear, the next step after public input and the discussion of everything that's come up isn't for this to go to a developer. It's for this to get formulated into a request for proposals, so that interested parties who may be developers or maybe public-private partners would then make non-binding proposals that the borough could consider. So it's not like this is going to a developer. I want to make it clear so make sure you realize that that's not the next step, is to hire a developer by any means. There's quite a few steps before we would ever get anything close to that. Okay.
Yeah, we just don't want this to happen quickly overnight, shove it on through and meet an agenda, because open space, according to the national park open space, Narberth Borough is quite deficit in its parks. We have about 7 acres of open land for 4,000 residents, whereas the national standards is 6 acres per 1,000 people. So the thought of even getting rid of the parks or getting rid of the parks even for the time of developing and moving things around, especially with COVID and the kids needing to be outside because they can't go places, they can't be outside, is just, it's incongruable to try to get rid of a park, and even to temporarily get rid of a park at this particular time, and also financially. How is this going to happen financially? That is my big question. Is the borough doesn't have money for other projects, how are we getting money for these projects for redevelopment of this park?
Well, as to the timeline of actually doing anything, I mean, our current leases, I believe, we have to give people a two-year warning. Sorry, I've got the dog going here. I think we currently have to give the tenants 2 years notice before any changes are made to the property. Is that right, Sean?
But several of the leases are up, like the Wonder Spring lease is just got a short extension to it, not a 2-year extension. Food Bank's lease is up for renewal. Fitrition has the longest lease. He has 3 years left on his lease. So, if you are emptying out the building and not extending the leases on the 2 biggest renters, then that is going to defeat the purpose of having the building as a income streaming property.
Yeah, that is not what we are doing. We are continuing to renew leases as they expire. And the one change we've made to our leases is to include this 2-year notice, that, if the borough gives 2 years of notice to the tenant, then the borough can exit the lease at that point. So we're not otherwise making any changes to the leases.
How long is
like that
lease for? It's up within the next few months, within this year. Is it being extended for 2 more years?
So I can't really go into the specific like negotiations, the details. I mean, I'm just telling you that we are not directing, you know, our goal is not to have people leave this building through the leases. We are not changing the way we lease things except to give us a chance, to give us the ability to exit with 2 years notice. That's the only change we're incorporating into leases to deal with this scenario.
So then there will be no development for at least 2 years?
Yeah, we can't start. Well, I mean, we could make a deal, but we couldn't actually start constructing things, do anything with that building for 2 years.
But what about the
Until
other
after
side?
we tell them, we have to notify them. Okay,
Right.
and then after that, 2 years later, we could actually start doing something with the building.
And what about the other side of the property? How quickly can that be developed?
I mean, that's borough land.
Sure.
I mean, you know, we can, it's just like with Borough Hall. I mean, we could decide to level Borough Hall tomorrow, but we're not going to do it. So, I mean,
That's not very, that doesn't make us feel like the park is protected.
well, we have passed a resolution declaring our intention to preserve open space on that property. And I can assure you, nobody on council wants to reduce the amount of park space or green space. We're all very attuned to the need for the parks. And I'm sure that Aaron will cover a lot of that in tonight's presentation. So I'd ask if you have any more questions about that, you can bring them to Aaron. Sean?
Carol Marie, the Wonder Spring lease was extended for 2 years. It now terminates June 2023. And the borough has a 18-month notice to recapture the property. That was the action item from last Wednesday that council approved, and it should be posted on our website shortly. I signed it today.
I'm sorry if I said 2 years and it's 18 months, but the point is we're gonna, you know, there'll be plenty of time for our tenants to take action.
Okay. My next question is, with the funding for the bridge, when you say the bridge is going to be quickly acted on, how does it DVRPC funding come into play? October 23rd, 2020, there is on page 18 of the TIF, I believe it's called, talks about how the funding is being put out. And I was wondering if you have seen that document and how that plays to the speed of having the bridge rebuilt.
Sean?
Yeah, the TIP, which is short for Transportation Improvement Program, is updated regularly. Matt could talk forever about it because he used to work there. And that is a list of projects and funds authorized to be spent on those projects. Our project will be, the Narberth Avenue Bridge will be ready for construction prior to the fiscal year that the TIP money is authorized in. So that money can move forward in time to start the construction of the bridge. That money is from state and federal resources, and it is a reimbursement process. So we get the borough would get, since the borough owns the bridge, the borough would get a bill from the contractor, say, for the first 3 months of work, and it would be $150,000. We would pay the contractor $150,000, and then we would apply to PennDOT for reimbursement. And PennDOT would reimburse 80% from federal sources and 15% from state sources. So we get 95 cents back for every dollar we spend to the contractor. What the project is going to pose for the borough, and Matt and I have been talking about this, and we think we have a solution, is a cash flow issue. In the case that we are waiting for reimbursement and the next bill comes in, the next one after that comes in, we may have a cash flow issue that we have to deal with. But the $7 million bridge, which is our rough estimate for purposes of this conversation, will cost the borough $350,000 at the end of the day. but we have to go through a reimbursement process to cycle all that money back into the borough's capital fund.
Thank you,
All right.
Sean. You are a wealth of knowledge.
All right, thanks, Carol Marie. And I just want to assure you that, you know, any decisions made by council on the 201 Save On property will be made through public meetings, through open council meetings. And, you know, we are not at the point of making decisions right now. We're still gathering information. So
So
there's,
we're talking about multiple public meetings, multiple public input.
well, what I'm saying is we're not close to making a decision. And, you know, I think there will be meetings to discuss what would go into an RFP and meetings that would discuss what comes back after an RFP. So I foresee multiple meetings. I'm not the one setting the agenda, but I foresee multiple meetings. And I think Aaron will lay that out at tonight's President's Forum.
All right,
All right,
thank
thanks.
you.
Okay, thank you, Carol Marie. Kimberly Bezak. Kim, do you have something?
Hi there, thanks. Okay, a couple of quick comments and requests. One, I was very excited, Matt, to hear the update about the switch towards considering all electric equipment for public works. That's very exciting. Additionally, the street sweeping schedule, I've been looking forward to that for years. You know, living in other communities, there's a schedule posted, don't park here on Tuesday morning from 8 to 12. And when the street sweepers go down our street, I'm always like, oh my gosh, they're just pushing leaves around. So anyway, I'm excited to hear that update. Another couple of requests that I was curious about with a public works mindset was the barriers on the bridge. So the Narber Cycling Club had a ride last weekend, and we experienced the two different layouts of barriers that are currently on the bridge. The north side has barriers, 3 barriers are staggered that force you to do an S curve, whereas on the south side, they're set up as more of a chute where you have about 4 feet of access between the barriers. The experience, and I think this was shared amongst all the cyclists that were on the ride, was that the access on the south side of the bridge with the barriers set up like a chute was much safer. So I just asked that maybe you guys would consider reorienting the barriers on the north side to mirror what is on the south side, because that works really well for access and safety. Let's see. Oh, another question I had, as things might be rethought about public works and being proactive, I'm wondering if maybe public works could take a little more of a lead on bringing attention to when they see hedges that are encroaching on the sidewalk. I don't walk around Narberth very much anymore. I usually am on my bike, but lately when I've been walking around the community, it's really shocking how bad some of the sidewalks are impassable because of hedges. So, and I know property owners, that's their burden, but again, just if there was a way to flag that when they are out all over the borough, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, if I could just talk about that. We do have a door hanger that we issue that's, you know, before we ratchet up the code official, just hey, your hedges are overgrown. We can't pass on the sidewalk. Please remediate ASAP. And then we do a follow-up. And if it's still not there, then we identify the borough's code official. I know we've had a couple of those instances in the past week. It's difficult to find all of them, and really do appreciate any insight that we have from anybody. I know I'm a walker more than I'm a rider, and I'm always taking pictures and, you know, texting them to Public Works and can we do this one, please? So any intel, that'd be great. I know it's tough. We've got pretty narrow sidewalks, and you know, it's a difficult thing to manage with narrow sidewalks and everyone's beautiful gardens, but we do need to maintain a walkable sidewalk neighborhood.
Yes, I totally agree. When I lived in Philadelphia, we lived right on a bus route, and we got several tickets when we were out of town for snow removal and things like that. And I think if anything, if we could just even pay attention to the core walking routes and the very heavily trafficked streets, that would just make such a huge improvement in and of itself. Because I have seen folks lately being pushed into the street on Windsor and other stretches, which is pretty alarming. So thank you for giving attention to that.
And if
Another
you-
thing that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. It's good. I was
Another
just saying if you,
thing. Okay, yes, I'm listening.
I was just saying, if you're listening at home, you can't have any growth onto the sidewalks. So if any of your plants are overhanging the sidewalk in any way, they need to be trimmed back. Except for like a tree 20 feet high. But anything that's at ground level or pedestrian level needs to be trimmed back. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, another thing that I just wanted to ask a quick question about were the streetlights. I know we're in this transition phase right now, but when I'm out at night walking or biking, the visibility is worse than ever. So from a public safety perspective, I know this isn't public safety, but also an infrastructure perspective, I'm just wondering are we just in this waiting period and we're just not going to have streetlights that are functioning?
So that's what I was going to ask. Do you mean by the visibility is worse than ever? Does that mean there are a lot of streetlights that you're finding that are out?
Correct.
Well, no, because PECO still owns those and they're still responsible for them. And we rely on, it's becoming more prevalent now that with the time change, everybody's a little more familiar with lights out now. If anyone in the public experiences any streetlights out, they're to forward those to the borough office, and we then forward them to PECO. That's still under effect. They're still on the hook until we actually purchase those lights and they are retrofitted, replaced with LEDs.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the update. I'll be sure to send in some addresses then, because there's a lot out on our street. Let's see. I'm sorry. I had one more question. Oh, as far as the conversations about the bike infrastructure, is there an update on the money that's been allocated in the 2021 budget, specifically for on-street improvements or bike infrastructure improvements as this process moves forward?
Don't actually remember what's in the capital plan. And have that document they can pull up quickly. Well, I'll tell you what, Kim, let me take the next public comment, and if I can find, if we can find the answer for you in the next few minutes, we'll just let you know before this meeting is over. Okay.
Sure. I just do want to echo one thing to Carol Marie's point about 1 o'clock being a hard time. I just want to remind everyone that the Narberth Civic Association does record all of these meetings, and so they are available on the Narberth Civic Association YouTube channel. So for anyone that, I know this is an inconvenient time for folks that work traditional schedules, but those meetings are available 24 hours a day and archived on the Civic Association channel. So if you're not aware of that, you can pass that information along to your neighbors so they can go back later and watch the meetings. Thanks.
Yes, and thanks to the Civic Association for this public service. Okay, Dennis Callan, do you have a public comment?
There we go. Thanks. In preparation for tonight's public meeting, I was doing some research, so I'm better informed. However, the site, the public information did not have a property management report for 201 Sabine. So I was wondering if that can be sent over to me. And if it's not public information, then I guess I would have to do an open records request. And obviously that wouldn't be fulfilled by tonight. So just throwing that out there, because when I was doing my homework, I saw you had a meeting today and I thought, well, why don't I go ask them in person?
Sean, what do you think about making that? Is that something we can make public and put on the website?
The property manager issues quarterly financial statements to the borough, indicating revenue, expenditures, and any distribution to the borough. It's all itemized, as well as a check ledger. That's all public information. We handle public information requests that we don't put on our website through the right to know process, just so we don't have requests flying around into individual inboxes and we start kind of doing things that way. It also lets us track how much time we spend on filling right to know requests. So it helps us manage right to know requests. We haven't in the past put those quarterly reports on the website. We certainly could. I don't see any problem with that.
Do we have an annual summary of those, or do you just have the quarterly?
Well, the fourth quarter report is summarized year to date, so it is kind of your annual. If you just grabbed one, you'd want the fourth quarter.
Well, can we put up at least one of those fourth quarter reports then? Does that seem reasonable to everybody?
Yeah, we can put
What-
the financials
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
page of the website.
Yeah, because
It's on the financials page.
No, we could put it there. The leases are on the financials page of our website right now.
Well, it is public information, so let's at least put, I don't know, can we put 3 years worth or 2 or 3 years worth of that onto either onto the financials or onto the site that Dennis is referring to,
maybe
where
at
people are
least
being
the
asked to look.
Copy of it if
fourth
you would
quarter.
like it. I can Xerox it
Maybe-
for you and we can do that, but I can give it to you.
Carol, it's a little confusing with, can we just let Dennis cover this? So Dennis, you were looking on which portion of the website to find this originally?
Actually, every section of the website. I
Okay.
reviewed all of the past budgets, and of course, that only tells you the annual rental income that you generated. But if I'm not saying you have to put that up today, Fred, but I just thought I'd ask, and if you guys need time to put that up, that's great. If you would like me to submit the open records request form on the website, I'm happy to do that as well. But just that's it.
Well, I don't think we need a form. I think we can just agree to put it up.
Okay.
I've seen the document. I'm just trying to. I think it's just on the private, on the council members portion of the borough site.
Okay.
So hopefully we can get it up soon. So I guess Sean and Matt, if you could email it to Dennis, if it doesn't go up today. I don't know how long it's going to take to actually put it up. I think the idea is he'd like to have it before tonight's meeting. So
If that's possible, I don't want to put you out, but I can shoot you an email with my my address. And
I would
Matt, how
not to do the email route. I just think that sets a bad precedent with
of course,
open records. I don't see this being a problem to put this up here momentarily, so long as I can get a list of all of those documents. I'm looking at the site now, and I think it would best belong under financial information, since that's where we have the 201 Sabine leases. I'll just add another section underneath that 201 Sabine report, financial reports. And it'll be if I can I'll see how many I can get up there today. I don't know what format they're in right now. I can at least get 2020, probably a good portion of 2019, and I'll just keep backfilling it. So just go to that page, narberthpa.gov/information/financial information, and just keep checking that and refreshing it and seeing how many will be there. I'll try to get as many posted this afternoon.
thank you very much, Matt.
all right, and then
Thanks, Matt.
yeah. Sorry,
Your dog
dogs are going.
agrees, Fred.
Saying the number you see in the borough budget. Number you see in the borough budget is sort of the bottom line. That's after management expenses, and that's after kind of some of the routine repairs that the management company does.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks for the question.
Great.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Good job.
Adjourn the meeting.